We are live. Or I am live anyway. What's it doing? Okay. Hi, everyone. Going live. Oh, thank you, Auntie. I think Chris made that. I'll let him know. Chris, if you're out there, look at this comment. Merch. Can you imagine? Oh, Lord. Maybe they'll sell us at Target. Oh, God. So what's up tonight? I checked. Looks like the protests are heating up. They're threatening to expel or suspend some of the protesters. One of them at Columbia took over a building, and they said anybody in there that's involved is out of here. No more at this school. It was reminding me of the the Evergreen protest. I wonder if he would. I don't think he'd mind if I showed a little bit of that footage to kind of get the idea. I think it happened in 2017, and he was actually a student there, and so he has all of this. He kind of like captured it as it was unfolding, and he put it together into a YouTube documentary. Let me see if we could get away with watching some of it. Hang on, I might wait for a little bit more people to get here too. So yeah, I think we can watch some Evergreen, because if you haven't watched it, you should. I'll put the link. And because the student protests that I see now, it's a trend. And when I watched it, I knew about the Evergreen stuff because I live up here. It was a headline in the news, but I didn't pay attention to it. And then during 2020, when all the George Floyd stuff was happening, I sat and watched the entire Evergreen documentary. Oh, wow. Y'all, I can believe this. Tomorrow, Benjamin Boyce is going to be talking with James Lindsay tomorrow at noon my time. So the same time that we're on, that our show is on, Benjamin Boyce will be talking to James Lindsay about why does Evergreen keep happening. I just saw this headline as I was talking to you. So this is convergence. This I don't want to feed the conspiracist. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but what a coincidence. So anyway, let me get the link to the Evergreen thing, and we can watch some of it. It's called The Complete Evergreen Story. It's a playlist, and then also on his channel, the very next video scheduled, the top one, is the link for the James Lindsay thing. All right, there you go. Hey, Moose. Good to see you. I was saying that the protests were the biggest thing in the news when I checked, and that they reminded me of Evergreen, which Evergreen was at one little, what do I want to call this college? It's like an alternative college, kind of like an arts college. So it's not like your Ivy League type campus or your traditional college campus. So it was kind of like it wasn't really isolated, because you had that, what's his name, Nicholas Christakis, about the Halloween thing, some Halloween costume. and some students came out and protest, and you had that, oh fuck, what's her name, Melissa somebody, Melissa, professor, curly hair, glasses. There was a free speech event, and she tried to keep the kids out of the event, and they got all captured on camera. Melissa Click, I think. So you can Google that up. So there were like little things like that, but they weren't on the scale of Evergreen. And Evergreen, they actually managed to take over the campus and get the, like, they had the administration. I have no idea. I would have gone in there and just laid down the rules and sent them all back to class. But the administration didn't do that. They bought into their bullshit, and the kids ended up gaining all the power, and the administration didn't know what to do. And they had the city police, because they had separate campus police, but they had the city police asking, do you need us to go in? Like, do you need help? And the college is like, no, don't come on campus. Stay away. It's just going to like make them even more inflamed. So they didn't have any police help or anything. It's a fascinating series. He tells it all with live footage, like interviews, live documentaries, some of the footage he captured himself. So we'll watch a bit of it. In fact, we might as well do that now while we wait for people. So I'm going to go on mute. We'll just watch the first little bit.
Evergreen to continue to be the kind of a college that's going to attract people who really want to get on an intellectual binge, who are looking for jobs, yes, but a place where we develop the mind. And
hang on, the sound is really crackly, and I can't get to my controls because fucking Chrome puts this little volume control window over everything that it won't move. Let me figure out this sound issue. Yeah, there's some kind of crackling. So let me figure that out real quick. Oh, and if y'all haven't heard the good news, or why I'm wearing the DEA, and I shouldn't get too excited because there's an office that still has to sign off on it, but they're going to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which is much less restrictive. Right now, it's the same category as heroin and LSD, and they're going to move it to a lower category with lesser penalties. And that's at the federal level, so it would be nationwide. So celebrate if you, however you want. All right, let me figure out this sound. I'll be right back. Okay, I think it's working. We'll try again.
I would like Evergreen to continue to be the kind of a college that's going to attract people who really want to get on an intellectual binge, who are looking for jobs, yes, but a place where we develop the mind and develop critical minds, because I think that critical minds can go any place in the world.
Carol, thank you.
The Evergreen State College is a small liberal arts college located in southwestern Washington. Founded in 1967, its doors opening in 1971, it was set up with the express purpose of providing an alternative form of education to the public. Evergreen's experimental form of education did away with letter grades, instead providing students with in-depth feedback through narrative evaluations. Also, Evergreen structures classes around interdisciplinary models, where, for example, 3 teachers from an array array of disciplines, such as history, poetry, and biology, can teach a single course that lasts for an entire year, immersing the student in a variety of disciplines and giving them the opportunity and tools to incorporate diverse schools of thought into a cohesive whole. Evergreen quick became known as something of an oddity in Washington state. While its spirit of quirkiness combined with its penchant for social progressivism, political action, and activism, and the occasional riot never quite won it the achievement of the bad boy of Washington colleges, it did certainly become known as the scruffy, somewhat orgiastic, and unbathed mottled sheep of the lot. This perception, though not unwarranted, was not always entirely fair. Evergreen science and humanities departments, well, they don't have departments, but whatever, have been known to produce individuals keenly suited to graduate programs, these students having gained valuable experience in both independent and group projects. In the spring of 2017, a series of protests live streamed by the students launched Evergreen into the national eye, setting in stark relief the contentions in higher education between academics focused on classical education and those who center education on social justice. These two camps came to dramatic blows when Brett Weinstein, a professor of evolutionary biology, was protested outside his class by students who accused him of being racist. Their evidence derived from a series of emails he had written to question the methods and suggestions of the college's Equity Council, who had been working hard at the behest of the college president, George Bridges, to redesign the college's function around notions of diversity and equality of outcomes. Brett Weinstein was the first stop in a week-long series of protests, which culminated in students taking over the library and administration building, taking the senior administration hostage, and issuing a list of demands just as lengthy as they were self-contradicting. All of this was live-streamed onto the internet, and the aftermath resulted in the college shutting down for several days and moving its graduation ceremony 1 hour north. Since these events, the college has seen a dramatic drop in enrollment and is now often referenced by journalists and public intellectuals whenever similar protests start up on other campuses. I myself graduated from Evergreen 2 weeks after the protests and have worked over the past 2 years to show the public what was going on behind the scenes. And now I'm ready to present to you, in a distilled fashion, everything that I've discovered during this research. The next few videos, which will form, I hope, the capstone of my entire expose, will be based on the events of May 2017. But I will be going forward and backward from there to provide context for.
Okay, that's the core of the intro. Oh, hey, Jack. Did you go to Evergreen? It's it doesn't look collegey to me. It looks community college or like alternative high school. Yeah, I mean, everything in Washington State is beautiful. I gotta say, y'all really do scenery and beauty well here. For me, it's the people. It's back and forth. But oh, okay, easy streaming today. Yeah, that's cool. I just opened the stream because I'm doing more evening streams, and I just realized I did not put it on social media. So let me get that going. Maybe that'll draw some more people. Let's see. You visited the campus. Oh, really? Oh, after you were there. I'd be interested in your thoughts or your impressions. That Evergreen story. Just watching it now, I got emotional. I don't know why it moves me as much as it does. And I tie it into the George Floyd stuff because I watched it all at the same time. And of course, here in Seattle, we had the Chaz. It was like 5 blocks from my place. The riots happened outside of my window. And so all that was like coming into my brain all at once. And that's when I started to kind of wake up from what was happening on the left the last few years. And I shot out of there. So these are not my people. Oh, hang on. Okay. Um, 1 second. I'm doing multiple things at once. I'm trying to promote on social media. So if y'all want to like tell your friends and stuff that we're live, let's see. And I think Flow is streaming right now. Let me just get this up on Twitter, and we'll be good. So yeah, what's on your mind? That's the only thing I saw were the protests, and what topics interest you, etc. Otherwise, I'll pull up the little question thing. I think we were talking about fashion of all things, which I am ill-equipped for. We had the Garanimals growing up as a kid, and that I love those. They had little tags on them, and they were animals, and you just matched the tags. So if you had a hippo shirt, a shirt with a hippo tag, you found the pair of pants with the hippo tag, and boom, they match. You just knew they matched. That's all you had to worry about as a kid. And then they never had the adult version of that. I didn't know how to match after that without the animal tags. I still don't. So let me see what the rest of these questions are. Jack, what's going on with you? I know that I don't know. You're very much the talk of the panel verse. Often. Let's see. Group. Oh, that's vacation. Clothes and fashion. Okay. Do you care about fashion? What style of clothes do you usually wear? Well, y'all see my clothes every day. I'm very simple. I like simple. When I was in high school, first year college-ish, about 17, 18 years old, I had a teacher friend. She offered to make me a wardrobe for the summer. She taught at that school that I went to. And we went and we picked out fabric. And I wanted a different color outfit for each day of the week. So we picked out 7 colors, like a purple. And so it was shorts and shirts she was going to make. And I was so proud because I was going to get to wear an entire wardrobe that was made by by a teacher of mine that taught me, and that I idolized. She was like a mentor to me. And this was so special. And so we picked out solid colors for the shorts and then patterns for the tops. And it was like purple shorts, like a pistachio green, an orange, a blue, etc., etc. And then the tops were kind of patterned after Hawaiian shirts. And I picked out the wildest patterns you could imagine. I had like yellow and turquoise hypnotic swirly patterns, and I had like tropical Hawaiian looking wild colored prints. And so that's what I wore that whole summer. And I think I had some tennis shoes with pink shoelaces, and I had some cat eye glasses, like sunglasses. And so I looked very 80s that year. This was late 80s though. And then I remember the year after that, I bought these tie-dyed neon t-shirts, and again, one in each color for each day of the week. So every day of the week I had a different tie-dye colored neon shirt I was wearing. And so that was my wild fashion days. And then I drifted into the gothic and the punk, and I started dyeing the hair. First it was black, because black was easy. You could just go to the grocery store and get black hair dye. So I would do black hair, the black eyeliner. I had like costume jewelry, gothic looking stuff, black clothing. So I did like the gothic phase, and I would shave my hair in weird patterns. And then at some point I moved to the colored hair, like the green hair, the purple mohawk, the spiky dog collar, etc. So I went through a few years of that, but my absolute favorite style, and it's the one I use to this day, is the slacker style that became popular around indie rock, like with Sonic Youth, Nirvana, like they were like middle-class college kids or college age kids, mostly intellectuals making music. And so they dressed very kind of middle class. They weren't trying to be flashy or anything. And it was slacks or shorts, comfortable shoes, tennis shoes, sometimes Converse, um, t-shirts, band shirts, or a t-shirt with some weird Gen X 90s design on it. And that's it. That's all you needed. That was, and to this day, I'm a shorts and t-shirt or jeans and t-shirt, and usually like music themed or Gen X culture themed or something. And that's just been a look that's stayed with me. It's easy, it's comfortable. It's the closest to Garanimals that I've found since I was a kid. And so that is my style of clothes that I usually wear when I have my favorite as an adult recently. What I've discovered is Eddie Bauer. We have the big outlet stores up here. I love Eddie Bauer. I love that outdoorsy look. And JC Penney. Y'all, I know JC Penney like took a dive a few years ago, but it's back. JC Penney has been clothing me since I was a teenager, I'm sure, if not earlier. And my grandmother, actually, one of them, my dad's mom used to work at JCPenney. She was like a sales girl there. And so it even has like a family history. So those are my fashions. Now, all these granny curtain shirts you see me in that Frank complains about, probably JCPenney's or Eddie Bauer. This is Eddie Bauer. I love my camo. If you didn't care at all what people thought of you, what clothes would you wear? Well, fortunately, I could answer this because I don't care what people think of me, and I have worn the clothes that I want to wear. The stuff I described, the punky looking stuff, like nowadays. Well, actually, when I did convert to Satanism, I wore these around Seattle. I wore them to work. I wore them around the house. I tried to, because when I have them on my head, I don't even feel it. I don't even notice they're there. And we have a curtain in the hall that kind of divides the section off from the kitchen. And every time I go to get a refill or something, I catch the horns on it because I forget I have them on my head, and they like snatch and pull. And so I have to remember that. So I would put them on, and then I would leave them on all day and not even notice they were on. So I wore them everywhere. And I had my Satan shirts. I had probably some black jeans. One pair of shoes I had growing up is that I loved, and to this day, I want another pair. It was some steel-toed black work shoes. Like they look like little cop shoes. They were like for security guards. I was a security guard very briefly at one of the plants, like the industry, the chemical plants. I had a friend that was a supervisor there, so he managed to get me on. And I worked the night shift, the graveyard. And I sat in this little shack with these old men, and they would talk about getting laid and vagina and boobs. And I would just, and the shack, I'm not kidding, it was like as big as this desk. It fit, it was like a little ice fishing shack. It was just a little guard shack. Like when somebody came in the plant, you checked their badge. And it was made for one person. They had 3 of us in there. And 2 of them were these old men, like reliving their sexual escapades and smoking. And so I would just sit in a corner with the book and just like try to make it through the night. And one of my tasks was to drive the company truck around the plant. And you had these little check-in stations. You had to patrol and monitor and swipe that you checked in at the appointed time. And we took turns doing that. The problem was the truck was a manual transmission, standard. And I only know how to drive an automatic, and even that barely. And at that time, I'm not even sure I knew how to drive an automatic because I wasn't driving. I didn't even have a license. I don't know why they even let me in this truck now that I think about it, because I did not get my license until years after I had this job. So I should not have been in that truck at all. Sorry if I'm getting y'all in trouble. It's names will remain anonymous. And so they sent me out on this truck, and I would attempt to drive it. And somehow I put it, the first night, I put it in a ditch twice. This is graveyard shift, mind you. So this is middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. and they had to come out and help me. The first time we managed to, I think, push it out of the ditch. The second time, and these are like construction ditches. These are the big ditches that the bulldozers dig when they're doing construction. It's not a little drainage ditch. So the thing was like in the ditch, like hanging like this. And the second time they had to get on one of the bulldozers, which they were not supposed to. It's not even part of the plant property. It's the construction company's equipment. And they had to hook a chain up to the truck and use the bulldozer to pull it out of the ditch. And then the second night I was there on one of my attempted patrols, I think I ended up just walking the patrols, just hand swiping the badges. I put it in the ditch a third time, the second night, and they had to do the bulldozer and the chain a second time, and they almost got in trouble the first time. And that still was not the end of my career there. I think I lasted a few more days. The reason I ended was because, remember, this was a friend of mine that hired me. We wanted to go to New Orleans. There was something going on for the weekend, and he couldn't let me off to go, but he still wanted me to go. And he said, I can't let you off, but I can fire you or you can quit, and then we can all go together. And I knew I was probably like getting fired or quitting anyway because of the bulldozer thing. So I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll just quit, and then we can all go to New Orleans together. And so that's what I did. I quit my job, and then I was only there like a few days, and then me and the boss all went to New Orleans. So that is my so as part of that job, I had to get these shoes, these steel-toed work shoes, and I loved them. They were so stylish. They look good with black jeans. They look good with the leather dog collar. They look good with the mohawk. They look good with normal clothes. You could wear them with a dress shirt, a tie. These were just all-around versatile shoes. And I also had a pair of combat boots, but they were a little more they were a little tight, and I didn't like all the lacing. The lacing was just, I like easy, just wash and wear, just streamline, just put on and run out the house. And the boots were, you had to put a little bit of more effort into them, which is a pro for the military. Like, I'm glad the military has boots that they have to have discipline and effort to put in, take that kind of care on. But I wasn't looking for that at the time with my ADHD brain. Oh, and it is open panel, by the way. It always is. If you don't see the banner on, it's just because I forgot. Oh, did you, Auntie? I swear, we probably would have. We're about the same generation, I think. If we had gone to the same high school, we probably would have been hanging out together. We would have been at the same lunch table. I didn't smoke back then, but I probably should have. I was definitely the type to, and that's the crowd I hung out with. So I would have been hanging out behind the gym, smoking, like watching y'all smoke, looking out for y'all. Thanks, Jack. That Chris made that. That's he made a whole bunch of AI photos, and some of them are very wild and bizarre, but that was one of the few that worked. And the problem with the thumbnails is it's hard to get AI to do text, like graphic AI to do text. So it would produce some cool images, but the outliers in Exile was spelled completely wrong or garbled. And so there were only a few we could use. Yeah, I started late too. I think I told that story on here. Like, when I was 17, my sister's friend tried to get me to smoke, and I wasn't doing it right. And she was trying to teach me, and you have to inhale a certain way, and it was gross, and I wasn't interested. And so she gave up. And then like a year later, that same girl she convinced me to try again. She's like, you didn't do it right a year ago. Try it one more time. And somehow I got it right that second time. And I loved it. I just, that relaxing sensation that just, I'm sorry if any of you are trying to quit, right? I won't go into detail, but it was very pleasant. And I decided at that moment that I embraced it. I'm like, I am a smoker. I love to smoke. I want to smoke. I'm going to buy cigarettes and smoke them. This is something I enjoy, etc. Like, I fully took on the experience. And my favorite thing, because they were legal at the time, I heard Obama tried to might be legal again. And being that was my gothic phase anyway, so it all fit. And I love smoking the cloves with it. All right, another fashion question. The best pair of shoes you've ever owned. Why were they so good? Wow, I answered the question without even knowing what was coming. Um, who do you think has the biggest impact on fashion trends? Actors and actresses, musicians, fashion designers, or consumers? I would say it depends on your subculture. Because for me, it was the musicians, the bands, the MTV, the Cure, Susie and the Banshees, Sonic Youth, the indie bands, um, some of the wild punk people. I remember Perry Farrell was one of them, etc. So, but that was because I was in a particular subculture. For a lot of people, like a lot of my gay friends, it was the Hollywood models, Marilyn Monroe, Joan Crawford, the classic Hollywood looks. So I think it depends on the person and what medium they're drawn to. I know people that are like right now, what's really big is RuPaul and like the drag. The audience for RuPaul, I'm told, is the majority of young teenage girls. Makes up that's the largest portion of their audience, and so they're getting all kind of like fashion ideas from the drag queens, which got their ideas from the women in the first place. So, um, it's hard to say like that. You're asking the wrong person because I don't even know what the latest fashion trends are to even evaluate. Mine is antlers and weed beads. So, oh, Auntie, you are making me so. I want some chai tea now with the foam and a closed cigarette. Yeah, we would have made good hanging out buddies. I could tell. All right, go. Oh, this is good. Goals conversation. Let's talk about goals. What personal goals do you have? Some people are a little cagey about their personal goals, and some are pretty open. Well, I guess it depends on how comfortable people are sharing that with a stranger. Like, I don't know if I'd share all my personal plans with just anybody either. Although I have on here. I did say at the beginning of the year my goal was to be moved or relocated by the end of the year, but that's kind of changed. Now that the roommate moved out and we're trying to, it's two of us, and so I feel a responsibility to stay here and try to keep this going at least for a while. Um, and so my plan is to find some work fast. Y'all showed me those websites the other day, and I'm going to look at them this week. InstaWork, Get a Job, or something like that. I'm hoping it's a new model of some of them are advertised like no resumes, just answer these questions and we put you in touch. Because I told you my roommate applied for a job at Lowe's or Home Depot or one of the like big box stores. And he just went on the website and this AI asked him questions and it routed him to the person he needed to talk to be interviewed by. There was no paperwork, no typing anything. It was just a conversation with an AI to get him to a person, and the person had a conversation with him, and then they called him in for an in-person interview from there, etc. I'm like, wow, that is the future. Oh my God. I used to work in employment trying to help people with disabilities get employment, particularly autism, ADHD, like my type of disabilities, the invisible ones. And oh my God, if we had this process back then. Wow, because that's one of the bottlenecks for us is the hoops you have to jump through to get. It's hard for there's so much like social and bureaucratic know-how. It's kind of a complex dance, and you have to do it just right. And so, a lot of us get caught outside that net and get filtered out just by the process of getting a job in the first place. And then if we can make it through all of that and get to the interview, that's the second barrier is the interview. That initial weird impression we make on people. And then if we get past all that, it's keeping the job. It's integrating and then keeping the job. Because even if you integrate, you still make an attractive scapegoat if you're like the only neurotypical in the office. I mean, neuroatypical. Yeah, so I'm hoping for something like that to just get hooked up with some quick like day labor. I just want to go the days that I can go pick up a little extra cash. And so that's my current goal, is to get some. I use the 3 leg of the stool model, and my boss taught me to always have 3 legs on your stool coming in, and whatever you're doing, but in this case, sources of income. So I have 2 currently, or at least this channel. I'm counting this channel as one. Eventually, it's just not there yet, but this is one of the legs. And then I have my practice that I started, and I need a 3rd leg. So this is just to get a 3rd leg of the stool going. So that's my immediate short-term goal. And long-term goal, I'm devoted to this stream. My long-term goal is to keep seeing where this can go. I feel like I've just scratched. I haven't even begun to exhaust what's possible with this medium. And so I'm going to spend probably the next several years working these streets, seeing what we can do as a community. That is drawing me more than anything right now. So all of my long-term goals are centered around that. Like making this be closer to my grand, amazing vision for what it could be. All right, let's see. Goals over the next 2 years. How have your goals changed over your life? If they've gotten more adult. They've become things more like professional or personal responsibility, what I have to do to take personal responsibility for myself and be accountable for myself. I think I told a story when I was out in the desert. That was back in the late 2000s after I lost Mike. And my goal was to like disappear out into the wilderness forever and just live out there. And I had a good friend that talked me into changing that goal and making the goal be to rejoin civilization and get a job, establish a network, a social life again, etc. And I did it very well. I went to New Orleans and I had very successful social groups there. And so when I adopted that new goal, and he didn't program me, he didn't control me, he didn't force me. We had conversations. He listened, he gave me his thoughts. I gave his thoughts consideration because he had a lot of credibility with me, and he sounded very wise, and I believe he was. I believe it was the right thing to do. And so I'm the one that said, okay, let me not go out in the desert. Let me take this opportunity to go get set up and join people again. Because part of the pull into the desert was the healing, that healing feeling I was getting out there. But also it was a pull away from civilization. I was just in such a state, an abnormal state that I'd never been in before. It was not a state I could relate to ordinary people from. And I just didn't want to be around people. Nothing about modern civilization mattered to me. You could drop a nuclear bomb on Vegas or anywhere else, and I would not have cared. I would have been like, oh, so big deal, so what? I was so in immersed in my grief. And seriously, nothing, like the worst thing that ever could have happened had just happened. There was nothing after that could be worse. So my feelings about the material world at that point, there was just none. There was nothing about the world that could get me excited, angry, scared, anything. I was just done. I was just so detached from it. And so I didn't want to be around people. I didn't want to be around the modern world. I didn't want the headaches of modern civilization and paying bills and answering phone calls. I didn't want any of that stuff. Filling up a car, any of that. Just was so foreign to my universe. The desert was giving me what I needed. It was putting me in touch with healing. It was myself, but a different part of it's not a part of myself that I had access to in Vegas. And so I was spending more and more time out in the wilderness, and I wanted to make it permanent. So it was a push away from civilization. So the idea of like turning around and heading straight into civilization and becoming a part of it was a complete 180 in goals. But ultimately, it was the right thing to do. Like the desert place, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to any of you right now. I promise, if I had taken the desert route. I know myself. I don't have the expertise to pull it off. I was dreaming and flying by the seat of my pants, and so that's one example of how a goal changed my life. Changing a goal changed my life, and there's plenty others. I don't. I try to get better at it, but I still don't think I'm the best decision maker. I don't make good choices. I make my best choices when I have someone to bounce things off of, or someone I trust to kind of guide me or keep me from going off outside the guardrails or something. And I didn't have a lot of that growing up. So I was kind of just left to make my own choices and learn from the consequences. And all of that, I don't think really taught me how to make good choices as an adult. I'm still not that great at it. I make the choices that make the most sense in the moment, knowing that I probably don't have all the information. I'm probably missing some pieces. It's like on Survivor. Sometimes they'll be doing the puzzle challenges and trying to race to get a puzzle together, and they'll like knock a piece off the board or drop a piece and not notice, and it'll lay on the ground, like on the grass or under the table or something, and they won't notice it. And they'll be working on this puzzle and trying to figure it out, and the other team is racing ahead. They don't know why, and they keep flashing to the puzzle piece on the ground. Like, I know that probably some of my puzzle pieces are on the ground. Like, I just know I don't have all the pieces. I have to work with the pieces I have. I'm trying to just give it my best guess, and I don't always get it right, and it's very much in the moment. It's like when you're I remember one time I was driving and it started to rain, like I think it was in the desert. And when it just starts to rain, before the road gets really wet, it's like that layer of oil starts to lift, and my car started to slide, and I had to like figure out in the moment what I had no strategy for that. I just had to like wing it and hope that I could get the car back. And I remember when I went to Connecticut with Mike, we were driving and it started to snow, and I had never driven in snow, and I had never seen anyone drive in snow, and he was driving in snow, and the car spun out and started to like, was it fishtail, dovetail, something off the road, and he knew what to do to recover it. But so it's like that. Like, most of my decisions are made under those conditions of, oh, I have to make a decision. Let me try to think. What do I do? Okay, best guess this. And so it's like in Dungeon and Dragons or role playing. I'm rolling the dice every time, and there's a percentage of time I'm gonna hit the right decision, and a percentage of time I'm not. And I have like my margin of error and my baseline chance of success to expect, etc. So when I'm making the decisions, and the next question is, how much do you plan for the future? And I am future blind. I don't see the future. I never have. Next week is so far off of a concept to me. It's just a hazy mist. I have no idea how I have control, or how I'm supposed to know or plan for something like next week. Even the weekend is this fuzzy, distant, like vague. It's just a cloud. I have no concept of it, and I never have. It was always been hard for me to make plans. I can problem solve things in the moment. I can remember things from the past and like notice all these patterns over time. The future is where, like, that's the part of my brain that I think is probably the most underdeveloped. And so I to this day, I have no idea. I couldn't tell you what I'm doing a month from now. I just have no clue. Probably this, but that's because I'm in a groove. I don't have to plan right now. I'm coasting. I got, and that was intentional. So that was a goal. And I'm meeting the goal. I wanted to carve out, I wanted to be in my flow zone where I can just wake up, stay in my zone, operate in the zone. That's where I'm at my most effective, and just keep the zone going as much as I can. So I'm intentionally trying to create a life where I can just coast. But at the same time, I don't have to do like planning and goals right now. And I'm still in an experimental phase anyway, because I'm still learning from the stream. That might take, like, that could take a few years right there. Just seeing what works, what kind of content I want, what kind of conversations, guests, etc. And I'm still in that phase. So I don't have, like, my goal right now is to continue streaming and learning from that process. That's my most important goal. And to keep the community going. And I'm doing those. I'm in the middle of those goals right now. So I don't have any extra goals outside of that, other than the job thing. How much do you plan for the future? Just none. Even if, because I know I can't, like, I know people that can make a plan for next year. Next year, we're going on vacation in July, and we're doing this and this, and I got the tickets, and we're leaving from the airport, and it all works exactly like they planned it a year in advance. I don't know how they do it. That is the most magical ability to me, because if I even tried that, nothing would go like I planned it. And not only would it not go like I planned it, I wouldn't even remember or notice some of the steps in the planning. Like, there would be gaps and holes because of my thoroughness. And so I would create little, like, pitfalls and snafus for my own self in the planning once the year came and it was time to execute it. So knowing that about myself, I don't even try to plan for the future at all. I just know that is not something that Jeff needs to be doing. Just like I don't need to be driving that truck, that standard truck. I do not need to be trying to plan for the future long term. Although, it's something that I am good at helping other people do, and I've helped many clients do it. I just don't know how to do it for myself, because I don't see my own future. They see as long as someone can see their future, I can help them plan for it. But I don't see my future. That's what I need the help with. And I don't know how anybody can give me that. I still mourn Kurt's death. 94, like spring of 94. Was it April 94? Let me see. April 5th, 1994. I'll be darned. Yeah, I remember, because we were on mushrooms, watching MTV, giggling and laughing until it came on, and we thought it was a big joke. Yep. Yeah, that was a moment. I remember. Oh, that's right. It was in his mansion, right? It's up here in Seattle. The ex drove me by it. We were on our way somewhere one night, and we passed by, and he's like, "That's Kurt Cobain's mansion." And the grunge here, it's like you would hardly know it even happened. Like something like grunge, that type of grunge energy, and that rock and roll violence, aggression, whatever. And they would freak out about anything like that now. Like, I don't know how grunge even grew up in a place like this at all. That kind of energy. But there's hardly any sign of it here. They try to claim Jimi Hendrix too. I mean, he grew up here, but he did most of his music when he went over to the UK and started touring. But he's still like a Seattle icon. What are some goals you have already achieved? I started my business last year. That's something I never thought I would do. Me start a business? That's way too not only complex, but like y'all think I'm so pro system everything, but I'm really not. I live about as outside of the system as anybody. And to start a business, that's very much a part of the system. Like that is really me taking a big step to try to integrate with society. And I think it was a positive one. I'm still trying to grow it. I would love more clients. So, I always forget to promote it because it's not like, I think this, I'm more into the stream right now, but, I'm a peer counselor and coach for men's mental health, mostly neurodivergent men, autism, ADHD, giftedness, the type of people you see on here, and you've seen the type of stuff I do on here. So if anybody needs that kind of extra support, my website is in the link in the description. It's sadersgrove.com. And you can book a free consultation with me and we can talk about whatever your issues are. Or like another thing is parents with kids that fit that description that are maybe struggling in high school or transitioning from high school to college. And my last job, one of the services we offered was transition services of disabled people that are like transitioning from institutions into the community again, like living on their own, or kids transitioning from high school to college, etc. Any kind of transition, there are special challenges that disabled people can encounter, and particularly invisible disabilities, like what I work with. And so I have some experience with a lot of the support. Some of the support I'm really good at is helping with these transitions. So if you know people going through life transitions, that's another. Just keep me in mind. And so that is one goal that I had a mentor, I had a business coach. There's an organization called SCORE. I think they're national. They have volunteer. It's free. They have volunteers that can help you, coach you, and consult you. They have free classes, webinars. They also have paid classes you can take. So I highly recommend SCORE if you're thinking of starting a business. You can get some hands-on mentoring from people in your area, because starting a business is different in each area. Have your parents influence what goals you have? That's a great question. I would just offhand, I would say no. My father wasn't really a big part of my life at all. My mother, we were so different of people. Like she tried to connect with me, and I tried to connect with her, but she had an influence on me in some ways, but not as far as what do I want to do with my life or what are my goals. But she was supportive, more or less. Like there's nothing that she didn't support. But I think most of that came from either other people or was self-generated. Do you usually achieve the goals you set? Why are we not? Yeah, I've learned to get better at it. Like in the work, in the kind of work I do, setting goals is pretty common, and there's entire like systems and techniques you can use to make sure you're setting the most effective goals. SMART goals is one of them. It's an acronym. Specific. The more specific a goal is, if there's some measurability to it, where you can track some concrete process. Specific, measurable, achievable. Make sure it's a goal you can actually achieve. Don't do something that's too out of your capabilities right now. And you can always break larger goals down into smaller steps. Realistic. Make sure it's a realistic goal that are realistic for you anyway. And time delineated. It has a specific time deadline where you'll know if it's achieved or not. So that's like the ideal, or one of the ideal models for goals. But I mean, your goals could be whatever. And then there's ways to break them down into smaller steps. There's ways to track progress. There's like if you need accountability, there's ways to provide accountability. And body doubling is something that some ADHD and neurodivergent people use a lot to success. Where you get on the phone or on a call, like a Zoom call or something, with another person. I think they have some ADHD Discord servers where they'll have a Discord channel for body doubling. And if you need a body double, you just drop in the channel. And if somebody's around, and a body double, all you do is you sit there and you work on your own projects on your own. But just having that other person on the other end of the screen kind of provides you some motivation to get it done. And so that's a technique that a lot of neurodivergent people and neurotypicals too find very helpful. That I have the opposite problem. I am not a plan. I hate people that over plan. Please put them in another car. Don't put them riding with me. One of my mentors here uses this concept of lumpers and splitters. And lumpers are big picture people that can kind of take pieces of data and fit it into some larger model. And splitters are people that get caught up on tiny, minute details. And the area I'm in right now is heavily splitter leaning. And organization comes very easy to me. So I can sketch something in my head very rapidly. That's very organized. So I don't need to do a lot of external planning. I don't need spreadsheets. I don't need to diagram stuff out. I need very little. In fact, the less external, all it does is slow me down. That's one thing problem I have with writing too. My brain moves faster than my body. And so if I have to move the brain and coordinate it with something physical that's moving even slower than it is, that's an extra step of work I have to do. If I can just let the brain spin and then execute or verbalize or put it on some kind of software approach, that's where I'm at my best. If I can just pour the brain out onto something and at the speed that it's coming out. And so planning to me is, I am not a planner. I work I am best off of spontaneity and chaos. Like if there's a goal, if I have to get something done, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let me jump in and try to do it, and I'll figure it out as I go. That's how I started streaming. I literally turned the camera on, and said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let me figure out how to fill up. I did a practice for myself. I set a practice of doing at least an hour a day every day initially. And so how do I fill up an hour of stream? I didn't know StreamYard. I didn't know I did it on Zoom at first. It took me days to even figure out how to get the Zoom to work. So I'm the opposite of a planner. Tell me what you want me to do. Get out of my way. And then let me play around with it. Let me experiment. If I know how to do it, I'm going to be able to get it going really quickly. If I think I told the story about the art project and the marble, and they gave us a marble, just a glass, like a glass marble, and you had to keep it in motion for exactly 30 seconds. So you had an hour. The class was like 50 minutes or an hour, and you got a prize if you were the person that did it. And within that hour, I played around with this marble. I played around with this equipment that we had, and it was in this building that had sloped floors, so I was able to use gravity. I created this incline on a slope that used gravity, and I could control the marble with the gravity, but it appeared like it was rolling uphill because it was on the slope, and it was this cool little contraption. I did all that within the hour. I won the contest. And I just did it with my brain playing around. I was given the objective, and I was set to work. And I had the creative freedom to do whatever to meet that goal. And I pulled it off within that hour, and I won the prize, which was ice cream with the art teacher. So that's how my brain works as far as planning, like almost none. I'm a horrible planner. Every time I make a move, I intend to try to plan the move a little bit more than the last move, and I never do. It's always last minute. It's always me throwing stuff in boxes, trying to push it in the car, hope it doesn't fall out the window, and just getting to where I'm trying to go. Like it's every time. I always write my papers. I'm not kidding. In school, that school I went to, they would assign us a topic. Like, let's say an essay on Shakespeare or something. Like, and we had like a week, maybe sometimes two, and the kids would work on it for weeks. They'd be in their dorm rooms at night. Oh, I have to work on my paper. I'm like, oh, okay. I wanted to go play at the library or something. And then the day the thing was due, we'd have like a class before that class, and they'd be in that class and they'd have their papers ready to turn in the next class. And I'd be like, oh shit, is our paper due? And I'd grab my notebook and I'd start scribbling it by hand. Theirs were all typed. I'd scribble it by hand, and then I'd rip it out of the notebook so it would have all the little jaggedy notebook edges on it. And I would turn it in the next class period. And then I remember the teacher one day came in with the stack of papers graded. And he's like, you know, there were some pretty good essays and there were some mixed results and everything. But there was this one essay in particular that I want to highlight that just really stood out among the rest. That he took my little raggedy essay off the pile with all the notebook edges that handwritten, not even an hour before it was due. They were pissed. Oh, I remember they were like, no. And I was just sitting there like this, like, so that kind of stuff, like that's how my brain, it shoots it out when it needs the result. And it's not good at, I can't plan for the kind of results that I get. It happens a different way. If I tried to plan for them, they wouldn't happen. That's another reason I'm not good in bureaucracies at all. I'm better in environments where I have a lot of creative freedom to kind of roll with things in the moment. When do you want to retire? What do you want to do when you retire? I don't know if I want to retire. I think I was so tired even of COVID, of sitting around as long as I did. I'm a doer. I'm an action person. My all the old people growing up, they had more energy than any of us. They were always on the go. Always going here and there. There's a supper at someone's house. We're going out to this restaurant tonight. There's a dance. The church is having this. The Elks Lodge is doing, like, they nonstop. They did more than any of the adults or kids. And then my mom and her friends are the same way now. Like, she is never home. Every time I call her, her phone comes through her steering wheel, so she's in her car, talking through her car, going somewhere. Or she's on a trip. Like, I told her she needs to go on The Amazing Race. Like, she has that much energy. She's pretty much living The Amazing Race as it is. She's never home. And I'm like, I want half of that kind of energy when I'm your age. And so if I do have even half, I don't plan to retire. I want to just keep. I get motivated and inspired by doing things. And so if I don't have something to do, that's going to feel weird. Like, so even if I was like not getting paid for it and it was technically retirement, I would still like volunteer or help community build or do something in my community, or maybe community education. I would still be doing something. So there's no point in me retiring because I know I wouldn't just sit home. I think retirement I remember when my grandfather retired, he was a postmaster, and he hit retirement age, and he was real restless. It was like he was so used to going into the post office he walked to work every day. I'd watch him. Like, I got my work ethic from him. Every single day, he'd wake up early in the morning, like before sunrise. He'd have his coffee. I think he'd do the newspaper. He'd get ready and he'd walk to work. He passed in front of our house. We were a block from the post office. And when he'd walk home in the evenings, we'd wait for him to come home. And just reliable, steady. He got the mail out. He was a quiet man and reliable and steady. You could depend on him. And he made a great postmaster. And so when it was time for him to retire, he had been doing that for so long. What do you do with your days after that? And he would garden and try to do stuff. But I do remember like how different he was when he didn't have the post office to go to anymore. Yeah, see, I admire that, Auntie. Like, that's how I'd want to be. Plus, like, your physical, like, I don't, my body's going to slow down anyway. The more I can keep it moving, I want as much activity out of it as I can get. I don't want to just sit in a home somewhere and look out the window. And if I do end up doing that, they better still have this streaming technology somehow. We might all be holographic holograms in each other's brain, but still, I know I'm not going to be able to just sit and eat pudding. All right, let's see. Seasons. That doesn't sound very exciting. Holidays. If is anyone going to come up, by the way, let me see who's streaming today. I've been going over an hour. Wow. Machine Lies, Flow State. Moose is doing his dance stream, which please go like and subscribe to help him get his streaming hours. And that's all I see. So it's Flow and Machine, which that's some heavy competition. So I'm not gonna cry too much that no one's here. Flow is watching a. Oh, I'm sorry. Machine is just like streaming videos and commenting on them. Flow has more of a panel. Ooh, who's that guy? Flow keeps his comments up too long. It hides people's names. Who is that? Pi? It's some guy with shades and a beard and a ponytail and a ball cap. But I can't place them. Anyway, Flow has a panel going. Moose has several channels. Let me get them for you. Moose in the Wasteland. Oh, he's doing that video game. That's what he's doing. It's not the music stream. It's video gaming. So here's one of his channels. And then I think he has another one if I can find it. It might be Producer Moose. Oh, I'm not. Oh, yeah, the Producer Moose. But it doesn't look like he has anything going on there. Alrighty. Oh, education questions. These might be good. Let's talk about education. What do you think of online education? I don't care where. Again, I'm a pragmatist. I don't care where someone's education comes from, as long as it works. As long as they're getting educated, use it. If it's working, use it. If it's creating education, then I'm for it. I'm open to it. What do you think of standardized tests? I don't love them. They're a tool. There may be situations, context where they're appropriate. I know as a teacher with the larger classes, it sure streamlined things to do a multiple choice Scantron test. I wouldn't necessarily call it standardized, but like I said, I was teaching. The last year I was there was like when No Child Left Behind had just passed. It was starting to be implemented. They were starting to have the meetings and the conversations of how do we implement this Common Core and standardized testing, and teaching to the test was one of the concerns. And I think testing should be a tool. I don't think it should be the defining factor, criterion, or metric of education. So if you're educating the kids The test is just meant to reflect that or capture that, but the test can't create the phenomenon of education. So I'm definitely against teaching to the test, which is teaching the subjects that are on the test and like emphasizing the subjects that are on the test that you know to be on the test and de-emphasizing the other ones. I'm more for whole person, whole picture, as large of a context as you can give for each topic. And I don't think teaching to the test accomplishes that. But if you're teaching like basic math, basic biology, whatever, and you as a teacher have your own personal tests that you're administering as you go through the units to assess the kids and track their progress, those tests should more or less match the same material that these standardized tests are trying to capture. So like the curriculum on the basic subjects, at least at like the junior high, maybe even the high school level, shouldn't be that different that you couldn't teach your own curriculum with your own test and still have it meet the standardized tests requirements. That's how I would do it if I was in that situation. I wouldn't teach to a test. I would make sure that I taught the subject thoroughly, and I would count on the test to capture or reflect that. And that could be my idealism or my naivety. Are bigger or smaller schools better? I benefited from smaller classes, but a lot of that's the special ed, giftedness, neurodivergent thing. I know in college, kind of the rote classes that you were just checking a box for, the auditorium size ones were actually, I preferred them. I know they had a biology class that was like biology 101 where you took like a midterm and a final. It was Scantron and that's it. And you went in the auditorium and with 100 other kids or whatever. You didn't need to delve into the material. A lot of it was self-directed, etc. It was a way to process a bunch of people at once. And I didn't have a problem with that because the class was remedial for me anyway. I already knew the material. It was 101. I just needed to check a box. So those classes, I don't care what size they are. But if I'm going to actually learn something, I would want it. I've always learned better from smaller. And definitely with neurodivergence or special ed, because the individualized attention it requires, you can't, like my special ed classes, I think my largest one was maybe 12 kids. They range from like 5 to 8, 9, 12 kids, because I needed to adjust my teaching style to each individual kid. And you can only do that. Like you couldn't do it with 50 kids in a class, but you could do it with 12 kids in a class. And so for the type of kids I'm used to teaching, smaller classes are almost essential. All right. Is teaching a skill that can be taught? I've told the story before of I was teaching my biology class. It was middle school. I think it was 6th grade. It might have been 7th. And one of the deans snuck in the back while I was teaching. He like crept in and kind of sat in the back and just to observe. And I was a substitute. I had what's called a vacancy. So they were using me. They didn't have a teacher that year for that class. So they were using me as a teacher. So it was different than just like a day-to-day sub. And I didn't normally get observed. I wasn't like a teacher that was on the track where they needed observation and all that. So it was weird to me that he was coming to observe me because they normally just left me alone and let me do my thing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything different. I'm in the middle of teaching. I'm just going to keep teaching. And so I kept teaching, and then class was over. And he came up to me after class, and he said, you cannot teach the kind of teaching that I just saw in that classroom. He said, there's teachers that come out of college, fresh out of college every year, and we hire them. And he said, it's not something that he said it's an art. It's not something that you can come out of school knowing how to do. You either have that knack for it or you don't. And he was complimenting me on what he saw, like the natural talent for it that he so. And I wasn't, they had a program where I could go on to get my certification, but I wasn't interested in it, mainly because of the shift, because of No Child Left Behind. And and he knew that, and he said it is a criminal shame that you do not have your teaching credentials or your teaching certificate, because like I was the type of teacher that they were trying to get in the schools. Let's see, the best classes, the students. Yeah, I can see it. I totally get that. I think so too. Like the more, and also, my God, make it fun. The more fun you could make learning. These old stuffy, strict classrooms, I can't. No way. Like people that went to private schools and got taught by nuns and stuff sometimes talk about how the classes were always. That's what it reminds me of. And I've had a few strict teachers, and I didn't learn anything from them. That's one skill I had growing up, is if a class wasn't fun, at least at the gifted school, not so much in the public school. I was just the isolated loner. But even in that school, towards the end, I learned to do this. But if the class wasn't fun, I knew how to make it fun. Like that's the one thing. I wasn't necessarily the class clown, but I knew how to bring the material down to our level in a way that we could have fun with it and put our unique stamp on it. Like I remember in science class, one year we got through the liquid nitrogen and play with the dry ice and stuff like that. And he said at the beginning of the year, he's like, you can do whatever experiments you want, but it has to be scientific. So if you have any ideas for projects, I'm open to them if you can turn them into a science experiment. And I said, can we make ice cream? Like, can we make homemade ice cream? And he said, if you can find a way to turn it into a science experiment, you can make ice cream. And so I thought of one. And that was one of our experiments and projects. I thought of a way to introduce, there was like this scientific question we were trying to figure out. And we had to make the ice cream to run the experiment. And we all sat in our class and ate ice cream that day. So stuff like that, I was always good at thinking of. That's not really class clown, but it's just making it fun. We would play practical jokes on teachers, that kind of stuff. I remember one teacher, he was our statistics teacher. He was one of our favorite teachers, and he had this really loud laugh. You could hear it. He taught on the second floor of the science building. You could hear him laugh when you're walking in the front doors on the first floor. It's just loud. He would just bellow. And one day we replaced all of his chalk with candy chalk on the board. And it was all we could do to sit there with a straight face and not bust and not give it away. And he would come in and he's like, all right, let's start class. And he'd grab the chalk to write the lesson for the day. And he'd write it, he'd look at it. And we were just sitting there like that, and he'd look at us, and then he'd grab another piece and he'd try to write it. He'd look at it, and we were just like, we were exploding trying to keep it in, and he could tell something was up by our body language. And he picked another piece up, and he's like, my chalk's not working, did y'all do something to my chalk? And finally one of us said, we had to say it, we're like, it's candy chalk. And he looked at the chalk, he looked at us, and he let out the loudest laugh I have ever heard from him in like for minutes. Candy chalk, candy chalk. You guys are. And he would tell that story. He would tell all the professors, like, these are the kids that replaced my chalk. I love these. We were his favorite class. We weren't even college kids. We were like the gifted high school kids that he taught. And so stuff like that, just making memories for us, for the teachers. It's just fun. So I don't know how I got on that topic. What will the future of education be? Lord, that is truly like we just watched some of that Evergreen protest video. That is truly one of the biggest. Like, you know how everybody has their pet issues that they're concerned about: taxes, the feds, conspiracy theories, whatever. Mine is what's happening in education with DEI. I see what looks like indoctrination or bordering very close to it. They have queer theory. Things like free speech, the kid getting suspended for using the term illegal alien. That bothers me more than almost anything going on in the country, because that threatens the future of classical liberal education as I know it and have lived it. And if we don't have that, I can't even envision the kind of country that we're going to have or are headed for without it. And there's been past civilizations where the intellectual or rational class or segment of that society gets compromised somehow, and I worry. And like I think it's a good thing that these colleges are imploding with these protests, just like Evergreen did. You saw that graph where the attendants did that. I say let them implode and let new institutions rise from the ashes that are faithful to the original mission of colleges, which are actually threefold. One is to transmit societal and cultural values, so to keep some continuity with the past. The other is truth, science, research, sense making, like discovering about the world as it is. And the third is to help, like to be a source of benefit to society and help improve society. And that mission kind of got cancerous and metastasized and eclipsed the other two missions. I think we need to restore that balance. We need or separate them, like have research institutions that have nothing to do with social justice, have classes or schools that pass down traditional, like hand the past down to us, and have schools that help you help humanity. Just don't try to mix them, but or either get that balance back or separate them. But I think this is one of those purposes gaining too big of a share of the pie, too much power, centralization of power. Those that fear it on the economic or political level, I think their fears are unfounded, but I fear it on the educational level, and because I see it happening, and we see what happens when the ideology gets centralized. So that's the true centralization that I think is warrants more concern than some of the centralization I hear on here. Yeah, kind of like that, kind of like passing down the recipes on a larger scale. And this is something that goes way back to Plato and even before, like education. How do we educate the next generation? What do we want from society? Because it does recognize we're not just completely nature. What society decides to do with its citizens does make a difference, and each society is different. And Plato had the concept of the noble lie that the guardians would tell the rest of the citizens to keep society cohesive. And we have various mythologies and ideologies that do that today. God, I really hope someone else comes on, because I need a refill. And I don't want to just, well, let me find a video for you to watch. I'll do that. Maybe some Flow. I don't know. Is he going to be touchy about his content? I would normally think Flo wouldn't mind, but lately I don't know. P.F. Jung was talking to Chris Kavanaugh. That just ended. Maybe we could watch Moose play video games. Machine. I don't think Machine would mind. Let's see what Machine's up to. Oh, John Huizinga. I've heard of him. Pill Eater. Let me check my history. If I can't find anything to play for you guys, I will play Machine. You know what? Let's just watch a little more of Evergreen. That's perfect. All right, watch a little more of this, and oh, my speakers went out. Watch a little more of the evergreen, and I'll be right back. After I, hey, back just in time to watch me walk away for a second. But we're watching the evergreen documentary, so I'll be right back. I'll go on mute.
To show you guys not only what happened, but possibly what caused what happened to happen. So, without further ado, here's the complete evergreen story. When did this trouble start for you?
I mean, throughout the year, it was pretty consistent, but it got really bad once I made that Facebook post. I was reading on Facebook, and it said, "Hey, people of color students, we are trying to have a class that's mainly people of color, brown and black, called MediaWorks." And what I did, with the help of a friend, was take the exact same post and just switch the race in it and the class in it, just to show that if you can say this about, this race, why can't you say it about this race? And so we put white instead, and then uploaded it, and then 300 something comments later that the entire school was not happy. I had people saying that I was a fragile white boy, and then I had others saying that I was a person of color that just wants to be white, and I don't act like people of color should. And then there was one event when I was in the greenery, and someone came up, stuck the hands on the table, got like this far from my face, and started yelling at me. And they were asking, "Are you going to stop being disrespectful?" And I asked, and I said, "Well, what do you mean by disrespectful?" And their response was, "Are you going to stop being disrespectful?" And I'm like, "I need you to tell me what you mean by that." And they were yelling. I was calm throughout the entire thing. And when they wouldn't respond, I'm like, "Then no, I won't stop being disrespectful because you won't answer." I went to the police after that, though.
What did you do there?
I just told them the events that happened, and I said, this was the person who was yelling at me, this is what was happening. And then what happened after was the other students were called in. This was after we left, and they had to go in and, give their confessions. And they like to say they were detained, but on one of the students' Facebook page, there's a video of what happened there, and at no point was there any detainment. It was a group of what looked like 30 students inside of police services hanging out, and one of the students that supposedly was detained and wasn't allowed to use the restroom or leave was walking freely about in the lobby, just chatting it up with people.
So yeah, to pretty much sum that up, a person of color who felt threatened by other people of color made a complaint, and it turned into one of the biggest reasons to start this big movement.
I think it was around the next week when there was meetings where students got together. It started out with discussions about what are the problems that people have on campus, and then how can we really qualify which claims are just emotional and which claims are really going on, so that we can figure out what issues we can specifically target. There was another meeting where Keave came in. He had some written statement about collectivism that I wish I could have heard, but students didn't want to hear. And he was basically told to leave after a few words were spoken.
And then there was an email that came out from Wendy that invited people to go to this meeting to discuss what happened through Facebook. So I decided to go because I wanted to see if it had anything to do with Brett.
All right, I'm going to stop it now. This sounds like streaming drama. The same shit happens on here. This sounds so... Some guy made a troll post, and then everybody got all hyperventilated and panties on fire, and it escalated into... and I wonder how much of the current protests are like propaganda. You know how they were saying during Russiagate, the Russian troll forums were doing all this anti-Hillary or anti-America propaganda. I wonder how much of this college protest is propaganda, like foreign propaganda. They say Qatar might be funding some of it. This is an entertainment channel, by the way. It's not they'll take that as information. It's just something I see on social media. All right. Anyways, where is the people for these evening streams? What do you think of homeschooling? I would probably homeschool. I pretty much homeschooled myself. I told that story the other day. I'm a huge fan of it. I pioneered it in my own life. Again, whatever works. If the schooling's not working and homeschooling's going to be a better solution, use it. If they're not learning anything from homeschooling, go find a school they'll learn. Education is so every brain is different, and each person is so individualized. So you have to look at what the educational goals are, and then look at each individual student and how to help them meet those goals. We have JD trying to connect backstage. I'm not sure who it is. So you have to look, you have to constantly keep an eye on what you're trying to do and are you doing it, and keep, there's not one recipe or system that just you can design that's going to work for everybody. And if someone's not getting educated or not meeting the goals, then you figure out what's going to help them do that, what works. You homeschooled yourself too. Oh, okay. Well, good. That's yeah, you have a lot of intrinsic drive and motivation, I notice. I think that's a great strength. All right. Well, and tomorrow at the same time as our stream, Benjamin Boyce is going to be talking with James Lindsay about evergreen. So maybe we'll stream some of that and watch it. We can do a stream of their stream. It is a little early tonight. Usually the evening streams have been later. So maybe I'm just in that kind of, this is the hour where people are watching real TV, or at least in my generation they would be, and doing dinner and spending time with the family and all that. So this is like peak mental and social health hour for a lot of people. I want to do a 24-hour stream anyways. It doesn't really matter what hours I stream. I know some hours are going to be slower than others. I'm okay with that. I do need to remember to eat later tonight, though. Okay, in the meantime, let's check Twitter. Oh, I forgot. More questions. How can governments make education more efficient? I think local. Each community and region knows their children best and their needs. But I do think we want some kind of national standards to make sure we're all on the same page about a lot of things. And education really kind of has been standardized for a while. Like we know the fundamentals of mathematics, of reading, of science. I think it's in areas like history. Psychology and sociology were not really grade school, like public school level classes. You might have a psychology course in high school or something, but really I think it's history, social studies, maybe geography, although I think more geographical literacies would be a good thing right now. I heard they're phasing out PE, shop, stuff like that, but I think it's the history classes where a lot of the controversies come, like when I talked about transmitting the past, there's competing versions of what the past consists of and the values that we want to transmit along with that version of the past. Yeah, English too has taken a hit because of the canon wars and the dead white European male like stigma. Which really, it's people that can't write as good as Shakespeare and Chaucer and Milton, or even the Romantic. Well, they couldn't write as good as Robert Frost or any of the modern poets. Civics and English. Please, more civics. We had 1 year. It was split into two. You took one semester and then another the other semester. One was civics. What was the other one? It was also like government related, but was it government? US government? Civics, or was civics US government? I don't know. It was taught in one of those little metal shacks out behind the school, like one of those add-on huts. And it was not a class I took seriously or associated with the real high school, because it was in this weird little building, and it was taught by one of the PE coaches. It wasn't like it didn't feel like a serious class, so I didn't really get a lot out of it, pay attention, but I probably should have. But I had already known a lot of basic civics just on my own, and from Schoolhouse Rock, and from being part of the student government at that other school. Oh, people were doing delegation. That is some ferocious delegation there. If you made it, if that's how you made it through. What was I doing? Twitter. Oh yeah, I'm trying to do Twitter and education questions at the same time. How can technology improve education? Can it hurt education? Oh, there's all kind of, like YouTube. There's video. You can watch a YouTube video now with this amazing graphics and technology and get educated. Having access to peers, study groups. If you're autistic, neurodivergent, gifted, you have more access to your peers that you could learn from and mirror each other and learn together. So there's more opportunity for like group. All of my learning growing up was by myself. Except for at the gifted school. That's like the only group learning I've ever had, because I could not group learn with regular class people. We were too far apart in needs and educational levels. So I'm used to getting all of my education on my own. I would read encyclopedias. I'd go to the library all the time. I never had another person or a group of people to learn with or from, other than the times I was at the gifted school. And so technology, I think, for those that I don't know, it might have been cool to have that. I just don't know what it's like. I don't know where I would have gotten it from other than at that school. Because I went the school year to the normal school, and then the summer to this other school. And so during the school year, I had no other person to learn with. It was all me, but it was easy. It was like basic high school material. None of it was hard either. So I guess it didn't make a difference. But technology today, I think, gives you access to that group learning if and when you need it, in a way that wasn't around when I was growing up. Who or what has taught you most of the information you use regularly? Me. I did myself. I'm an autodidact. I was reading very early. It's pretty much self-taught. I mean, I remember my mom would sit there with like children's books and read to me and point out the words and the letters and stuff. And so from that, I just figured out how to read. I noticed the patterns. So she didn't like teach me how to read, but she introduced me to reading and laid the foundations for me to pick it up on my own. And so anything, I had a burning curiosity as a kid. I still do as an adult. And anything I was interested in, my grandmother was an encyclopedia salesman. So we had the entire World Book encyclopedias. We had the childcraft encyclopedias. We had the, oh my God, our dictionary. We had a gigantic dictionary. It was leather bound. It was on a stand, like people have their Bibles on a stand. Our dictionary was on a stand, and it had a red ribbon sewn into it as a bookmark, and it had gold leaf on the. It was this fanciest dictionary with every word you can imagine. And it was this thick. I'm not kidding. That thing was like this thick. It was huge. Like carrying it was like carrying a coffin. It was so big. So I had access to the dictionary. I had every, like, at home. This is before the internet. I grew up in a shack. It wasn't a trailer park. The neighbors next door lived in a trailer, but we had a shack, and it was on the concrete blocks. Had a porch, a screen door, etc. And it was very cozy. I loved it. It was very cozy. I liked my little shack. But in that shack, with no computer, internet, anything, we had 3 channels of TV. Hardly any educational programming at all. I had the world at my fingertips. I had encyclopedias, educational books. People would give us books as kids, like I don't know, children's books to learn, teach you things about stuff. And so I would just absorb all of that just on my own. It was one of my favorite things to do. So if I thought of, I'd just browse through the encyclopedias and read random topics. Or if I thought of a topic like, oh, I want to learn about dinosaurs, I would just go and inhale that dinosaur article in the in all the encyclopedias that we had, not even just one. And so I taught a lot of myself information. And even in school, if we were in a textbook and the teacher was teaching, I was always reading ahead. She never taught at the pace that my brain learned. So I was like 4 or 5 pages into sometimes on the next chapter, because I could see where this chapter was going and I was interested in the rest of the story. And so I was always making my way on my own through like the official material they were trying to teach me. Where people have taught me things were things like the arts. Like my theater teacher taught me a lot about the technical side of performing and projecting the voice when you're on stage, and that, like, practical stuff. That's things people taught that I could not have learned or maybe figured out on my own. And so I was in chorus, so they taught how to sing and harmonize. And home ec, they taught how to cook and make clothes. So that's the kind of like hands-on teaching that I learned from other people. But the intellectual or information stuff I got on my own. A 2-room shack. Wow. You had a well under your, like, could you get to the well from your closet, or you had to go into the house? Wow, that does sound, depending on how you look at it, creepy or cool to have grown up in. Yeah, I liked my childhood home. I have good memories of it. What are some good and bad things about the education system? Well, I've kind of talked about it. The wokeness and no child left behind, like the standardization of it. There's talk about, do we even need a national Department of Education? I think if we do, it doesn't need to be a giant bureaucracy. It could be some little small department that gives out information and resources, and people can consult with if they have questions. I don't think it needs an enforcement arm. It can maybe help with some kind of standardized national curriculum, but the individual school boards should be able to implement that in the way that works for their population. Ooh, here's a whole section on weird conversation starters. If your mind were an island, what would it look like? It would probably definitely have a skull on it, like those, like, you know, those pirate islands have the skull island. It would have an underground network of caves and tunnels where we do our rituals and ceremonies. It would have It would be tropical or warm temperate. I wouldn't want a cold island, and it would have plants and hiking and mountains and caves and tunnels and maybe even no. I'd want a volcano for like aesthetic reasons, but not for the reasons we talk about on here. So I think I should just leave the volcano off. That would just end up creating a bunch of maintenance headaches anyway. Oh yeah, the island of Dr. Moreau. I think they remade that too. I remember seeing it in the 90s or 2000s. It would have a bunch of cool people, like all the cool people could be on it. And we just have fun. And of course I think of Survivor right away. Would it be like a voting off type of island? I would have, if we do any voting off at all, I would have another island you could vote off people to go to, but it would be a paradise. They'd have like an infinity pool and people handing you tropical drinks and fanning you so that when you got voted out of the group, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. There was a compensation for it. And so it wasn't traumatic. We were just voting you, like we didn't want to be around you, voting you to this really nice place that you could go hang out at and enjoy yourself. And in fact, I kind of wish the Panelverse had that. When I kick people off the panel, I don't like kicking people off panel. But when I do, instead of just kicking them off, I wish I had a nice place to send them where they could, like the experience of getting kicked off, something good could come out of it. I don't know. I'm just satanic that way, I guess. What flavor of ice cream do I wish existed? I assume every flavor out there probably already exists. I don't know. I'm not big on ice cream. If I had a personal mascot, what would it be? I think I am my own mascot. Be your own mascot. It would be a Baphomet. Probably would have horns. Maybe have black T-shirts with pentagrams on them. Stuff like that. If you were a king and queen or queen, what would your throne look like? It'd be comfortable. It would look like a recliner. It would rock. It would be a big rocking chair. Comfortable cushions. One of those big homemade rockers that I grew up with that were so sturdy, but with comfortable cushions. And it would have a place to hold a drink. And it would have it would be streamlined for streaming. So I don't know, maybe it would have a camera, some gadgets, a microphone coming off of it. It would have the best lighting. It would be like a streaming throne. Like they have gaming chairs, it would be a streaming throne. I used to make the best thing in the microwave. We had these big beer mugs. They were huge. And I would get one and I would fill it with milk, vanilla, a little bit of sugar, maybe cinnamon or nutmeg. There was something else. And I would put it in the microwave and warm it up and stir it and drink it. It was so good. It almost tastes like vanilla ice cream. It's just milk and vanilla and sugar in a cup, in a mug, microwave. But it was so good growing up as a kid. And I would just wolf down that whole mug. I never wanted to. Once you took that first sip, you never want to stop that taste. So you just drank the whole thing. It wasn't a sipping drink. And I used to burn sugar. I did a lot of things that I read in those encyclopedias. And they taught you how to make crystals with that laundry dye, liquid bluing crystals, and all these kitchen chemistry experiments you could do in your kitchen with household kitchen chemicals. But they had I would burn sugar. I was making caramel to take to school to share with my friends. And I would get a pan and I would put sugar in it. I would put it on the stove and the sugar would liquefy and it would turn brown and it would make like this like caramel, this like clear caramel liquid. And then you would pour it on wax paper and you would let it cool and it would turn hard and you could break it into pieces. And I'd put it in little plastic bags and I'd take it to school and I'd give it to my friends. And I'd say, look, I made some caramel for us to eat today. I was so proud of myself. That was like in, I don't know, second or third grade. That was in like grade school. I did grow out of that. You ordered a throne? Wait, what? You can order throne. I'll look up throne. Let's shop for thrones. On Amazon. What department would that be in? Oh, I'll be darned. There's one throne. They look like those big, like, I don't know, Louis the 14th looking chairs. Yeah, they just look like big chairs. Here's an actual throne. $44.99. Let's browse some of these thrones. Look, here's one. A royal red. You can get $44.99. What do you think you're getting for that? I don't believe it. Photography, background, wedding, ceremony, birthday, royal portrait, photo, props. It's just a prop. All right, how do I get back? Let's see more thrones. Lots of chalices and goblets. I don't really see a lot of thrones. Oh well. That to me that's a bargain for that fancy chair. Oh, it's not a throne. So wait, you saying that whole picture with the curtain and the carpet, you just get like a poster of a throne for $44.99? I feel deceived. All right. This is turning out to be another evening in hell because I did not want to be doing a whole stream by myself. I'll go for like 10 more minutes to do the 2-hour mark. Oh, here's a question. What does your own personal hell look like? How about your own personal heaven? Mine are reverse. Heaven seems like hell to me. It seems so boring. Like corporate America level boring. And hell seems fun. That's where all the sex and drugs and good music and fun people are. Oh, well, thank you, Auntie. Yeah, I like having you out there too. It's probably just the hour of the day and other people are streaming. Machine usually does Wednesdays, doesn't he? Oh, wow. Hang on, let me peep this. Yeah, okay. There's some drama. I don't know if it's with Illuma Tommy or King Steven. Oh, it's Tommy. And Pill Eater's on. He has Tommy, Steven, Pill Eater, which I like Pill Eater. I think he has very intelligent conversation. And there's a bunch of Spurg drama, but it's coming from Tommy. Anyway, that's Machine Lies right now. And then is Flo still going? Ooh, Mr. Hell. Oh, that's that guy that Mr. Hell is asleep. I don't even know what Flow is doing. What I'm seeing on Flow right now. And also, this is becoming. I'm trying to keep this like less of the drama stream, so I think that cuts down the amount of people that drift this way too. This is more the chill out sector, and a lot of people are drawn to the drama sector. We're like drama adjacent, but we also provide some chill out and some other like hopefully content with substance besides drama. I do understand the appeal of drama. Don't get me wrong. Um, all right. Looks like I'm at the end of the questions. I'll just let it wind down the next 6 minutes or so. And then y'all can go to Flow or TML. Oh, I guess I took a nap. I guess I'm winding down anyway. I'm gonna start my mission of looking for work. I'm thinking of even trying to document it, like having a neurodivergent adult who's attempting to return to the workforce document their journey, because it may have things that can help other people. So I'll be like the scout and see what the world of work in 2024 is like for neurodivergent people trying to find work and contribute to society and participate and be included and feel a sense of belonging and all the other stuff they say that they're trying to do, which we never needed outside people to help us with that. Like we always managed that on my own. If I went somewhere and I didn't feel belonged, I would like either figure out what I could do to belong if it was important to me, or just kind of do my own thing and not worry about belonging. Throne Kingdom has thrones. Okay. I didn't need a whole bureaucratic apparatus to make me feel belonged. That seems like if you need all that you're not in the right environment to begin with, I'm sure. Just go find your people. I never needed to feel. I've had plenty of jobs where I show up to do the work. I don't necessarily get along with all my coworkers or like them, but we're able to work together, and then I go home and I collect a paycheck. That's all. I don't need to feel a certain way at work every day, and I don't need a whole team of people making sure that I feel included. Throne Kingdom. Shop online for a variety of royal thrones. Okay, let's look at this. Auntie. Oh my God. I'll show them, but I'm I'm not a visual person, but I'm having a reaction to these thrones. All right, here's Throne Kingdom, y'all. Look at some of these. And then look, you hover over them, and they have like little scenes of the people. But look at this thing. Like, I am scared and worried for anybody that Queen Tiffany. I can imagine the kind of people that would buy one of these, though. I feel physical, like almost nausea just looking at it. I've never liked the color. The pink's not ever been my color. Ooh, now we're getting to King Darius. I could get a throne, and that's what I need. That would go. Okay, I need a throne. Okay, Auntie, you have how much is this thing? Oh my God, no, we're not at throne level yet. No, sorry, but look how cool when we get at throne level. If I was sitting in this thing with my Satan horns on, I could even get a custom throne with a Baphomet head on it or something. Okay, hey, Philip, Pepto Puke Pink. It sure was. Look at this one. Egyptian. King David. Angelic Lion Throne. Ooh. I could stream. I have my black cultist robe. I could have the horns, the robe, and test out the angelic lion throne. Wow. Auntie, this is a great site. Thank you for showing it to me. I wonder if any of these rock. Do they have rocking thrones? Mine would have to rock. Look at this. Look at this throne, y'all. Another Queen Tiffany 2.0. They added some, they queered it up a little bit. Look at this. Oh my God. Oh, I feel like this stream should come with barf bags or barf buckets. Oh my God. Oh, I'm sorry to do that, T-Hall. Please don't thumb down me for this. I'm going to get out of it as soon as I can. This one's kind of interesting. The Crown Tiffany. Oh, extra wide thrones. So not every throne fits everybody. This is a nice one for those that need the extra width. Look at this. Like, is this for one person? Is this the body positive throne? Oh, business. You think I could do a throne as a business? I'm going to have to declare it on my property taxes, and I'm going to get taxed on it every year if it's part of my business. If I see clients sitting on this throne, it's going to get taxed. All right. This one's gorgeous. I've never had more fun. King Darius again. King Darius has good style, good taste. Look at this one. Wow. Ooh, love that blue. Wow. Ooh, that was very pleasurable to look at. What? Queen Amina. No, I'm going to stay away from her. Thank you. Ooh, we have a David lion chair in black. The angelic. It doesn't have the wings, though. Look. Wow. Look at this. Wow. Is that? Looks like. What kind of skin is that? Reptile? Faux reptile. Look at the David angelic satanic throne. The dark angel. Wow. How much is that one? Oh, that was a little sold out. Okay. So if you just joined the stream, we're shopping for thrones right now for our stream upgrade. Okay, if I have to suffer this, what y'all do too. I'm sorry. Look at this. This is the throne of the future. This is coming. All right. Ooh, look at this. The lion chair again. Look at this. Just gorgeous. Wow. Opulent and regal and spiritualized. I like this one. I love green. Look at this. Another Tiffany. We have Tiffany and Darius and David. We have a whole dynasty of throne. Okay, here's another angelic lion chair, but I want the black version. We have a Tiffany extra wide. So, Auntie, is this? Look, they have a whole throne warehouse. Is this where they store them? Look at all these thrones, It's like a throne Walmart. And Auntie, is this where you were ordering your throne from? Which one were you ordering? This is so cool that you thought to get a throne, and now I'm all into wanting one. Wow, we could all get thrones. And what the? Oh, look at this, a scorpion throne. Look, y'all, I could mess with me now, motherfuckers. I remember growing up, they had my mom had a friend, this was in the 70s, and they had one of those hanging basket chairs that you could sit inside, like the whole thing just and I loved going to her house, and I would run to that basket chair and climb in it. and like my whole body fit inside of it. It's like a cave, and that it would twirl. It would hang and it would twirl. That's what this throne reminds me of, or the tilt-a-whirl ride too. It's kind of a tilt-a-whirl throne. Look at it go. I had no idea thrones were. I want to go work for a throne company now. Maybe there's a local throne company here that I could go work for. Or maybe they'll let me go work for the Fun Pop factory. All right. What is this? I feel like I could do this all night. And I'm not even a shopper. I hate this stuff. What's on here? Oh, Paris. No, that's a little too French and foo-foo for me. Okay, well, anyway, this is oh, is this it? This is all the thrones. We went through all the thrones. So if you see a throne you like, it's thronekingdom.com. Maybe they could sponsor us and I could get a complimentary throne. All right. Well, our numbers are going up as we go through the thrones, at least on Twitter. So thank you, Auntie. That was a nice surprise. Okay, well, I don't know where to take you all from there, so I guess I'll wrap it up. And have a good rest of your Tuesday evening. Tomorrow's Survivor. We'll be on the Discord doing Survivor. We'll be here at our usual time. I think tomorrow's stream, we're going to watch a little bit of that Benjamin Boyce and James Lindsay. They're doing a live conversation and on the Evergreen protest and what it means for the future. Probably relating it to the student protest. I mean, I imagine that's why he's having this in the first place. Let's see. I'm trying to see if it's live or a premiere. It looks like it's live. So yeah, we'll check that out tomorrow for the stream. And other than that, have a great night. I enjoyed talking to y'all for 2 hours. Not really, but I enjoyed being here with y'all for 2 hours and the exchange. And so Flo and TML are streaming. Check them out, and we'll be here tomorrow and watch some Benjamin Boyce and James Lindsay talk about the Evergreen protest and probably the current protest. Night, Bex. Good to see you too. And I will see you all later. Let's get the music going. And yes, thank you, Mr. Joe Biden, or Mr. DEA Department. Our government at work, y'all. See you tomorrow, Bex. Everyone have a good night. Oh, is the music playing? Shit. Anyways, okay, bye.